a wristband, then another one, then a red one, the kind hospitals only slap on when something inside you is actively trying to quit. That's the photo Simone Biles let the internet see first. No caption explaining it. No statement from a publicist. Just a wrist that looked like it had been through something. And the heart rate screenshot she dropped right after? 126 beats per minute. Laying down. In bed. For a body. That's not a vital sign. That's a siren. Real quick before we get deep into this, y'all already know the drill. Hit that subscribe. Smash the bell. Drop a like if you ride with us. We pull threads other folks scroll past. And the second half of what I'm about to break down, you're not finding this read anywhere else. Promise. On June 6th, the most decorated gymnast in American history, 29, 7-time Olympic gold medalist, opened her Instagram story and posted 3 things in a row. A picture of her arm wrapped in hospital wristbands, a shot of her in bed with her dogs, and that heart rate screen. Her words, "Almost dying wasn't on my bingo card earlier this week. This was one of, if not the scariest experience of my life." Husband Jonathan Owens was 3 states away in Indianapolis, grinding through Colts OTAs, when whatever happened, happened. She was home alone. She hasn't said what put her there. She told fans she'd explain sooner or later. That's the part the timeline is choking on. Now watch what nobody's lining up next to it. Pulling the receipts before I touch the analysis. No spin yet. Just what was said. From Simone's own Instagram story on Saturday, word for word. I'm not one to normally share things like this because I value privacy in today's age, but almost dying wasn't on my bingo card earlier this week. A second slide, same story, this one aimed at her people. To my close circle who reached out and checked in and visited or sent flowers, I love y'all. That part doesn't read like a PR rollout. That reads like somebody coming up for air. Okay. Let that one sit. Then there's the wristband itself. Forbes was actually the outlet that zoomed in on it, describing multiple hospital bands, including a red band, along with what appeared to be a medical dressing. A red band in most U.S. hospital systems means one thing, allergy alert. Sometimes blood type. Sometimes a reaction in progress. Never decorative. TMZ got the husband angle. Their write-up framed Simone as especially distraught because Owens was not home at the time. The man literally just moved his whole life to Indianapolis in March on a 1-year Colts deal, and the first time she really needs him in the room, he's at OTAs. U.S. Magazine reported she's recovering in bed for days, but pinned the same thing the rest of the press did. She has not disclosed details of what caused it. And France 24, international press, completely different desk, completely different framing, went short and clinical. Biles wrote in an Instagram story that showed a photo of her wrist encircled by several hospital bracelets. No drama, just the fact of the photograph. 5 outlets, 1 event, 0 answers on the why. Here's where it starts twisting. The hospital trip happens earlier this week. Her words, vague on purpose. By Friday night, she stepped out for the 2026 ESPYs looking, in the words of one outlet, amazing. Saturday morning, she posts the wristband photo. So, whatever flattened her in a window of maybe 72 hours, and she walked a red carpet inside that same window. That's not normal recovery rhythm. That's somebody who got stabilized fast, pushed through an obligation she couldn't reschedule, and then went home, and finally let her body say the quiet part out loud. Actually, hold on. Let me back up on that. Because the bigger detail nobody's saying out loud is the geography. Jonathan signed with the Colts in March. They sold the Texas mansion. They moved the dogs. New city, new climate, new altitude, new water, new air, new pollen, new stress. And Simone's still bouncing between cities for her own work. A body that elite is also a body that's allergic to chaos in ways ours aren't. And the red wristband. That's the part one can't stop circling. I had to read this part 3 times. Resting heart rate. General population. Healthy adult. 60 to 100 BPM. Elite endurance athletes routinely sit in the 40s. Gymnasts specifically, because of the cardiovascular load they train under, can hover in the high 30s when they're locked in. Simone has spoken openly across her career about being in that range. 126 isn't elevated for her. 126 is roughly triple her floor. That number in a hospital bed, in an athlete of her conditioning, isn't a side effect. It's a symptom. Cardiology people have already started weighing in publicly. One spine physician's video that's been making rounds noted that dehydration, infection, pain, anxiety, blood clots, metabolic disorders, and heart rhythm abnormalities can all cause tachycardia. Notice what's not on that list? Nothing benign. Nothing that resolves itself with a Gatorade. Then there's the red band. Hospital color coding isn't universal. Different systems use different schemes, but across most major U.S. networks, red on an inpatient wrist is allergy. Severe allergy. The kind that requires every nurse on rotation to triple check before pushing a single milligram of anything through and for line. If she had a reaction to a medication, to a contrast dye, to food, to anything they administered or she came in contact with, that band gets slapped on within minutes of identification, and it stays on until discharge. Pair that with a heart rate that high in a body that conditioned, and what you're looking at on her wrist isn't a fashion accessory. It's a chart in shorthand. Real talk. I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm reading what she chose to show us. She is a woman who has spoken publicly about anxiety, depression, the twisties, and her mental health journey more than almost any athlete of her generation. She didn't post that photo by accident. She knew what was visible. She picked it. 3 outlets covering the same wrist. 3 completely different stances. Forbes went forensic. They're the only one who openly cataloged the bands and even mentioned the dressing. Their framing is opens up, but the body of the piece reads like a medical observation deck. They want you looking at the evidence. TMZ went emotional. Their headline anchored on almost died. Their lead anchored on the husband being gone. The story they're selling isn't the medical mystery. It's the loneliness of it. Smart play for engagement. Less interested in the diagnosis. New York Post went headline bait. Bingo card. That's the quote they centered. They turned a hospital admission into a soundbite, which is what they do. But it tells you which beat they want shared. The version of this story being shaped right now is mostly about the vibe of her near-death, not the fact of it, which is exactly how a story like this gets buried under sympathy emojis before anybody asks the question that actually matters. Which brings me to the part I've been chewing on. Here's the popular take. Simone scared us. Simone's recovering. Send love, move on. I'm not buying that as the whole picture. Not because I doubt her. Because I'm watching how athletes at her altitude move when their bodies start sending up flares. Strip the celebrity off this for a second. What you've got is a 29-year-old elite athlete, recently uprooted from her home state, recently in transition with her husband to a brand new market, in the middle of her post-Olympic decompression year, which is medically one of the most dangerous windows in an Olympian's life. Athletes who push their bodies that hard for that long don't get rewarded with a soft landing when they stop. Their nervous systems are tuned for war. When the war ends, the body sometimes forgets how to be at peace. That's not me speculating wildly. That's literally the medical conversation happening around post-games athletes for the last 2 Olympic cycles. Now layer on what she spent 4 years openly building. A public platform around mental health awareness, the Cerebral Partnership, the After Tokyo Reckoning, the conversation about athletes as humans first. She didn't post a generic "I'm okay" with a heart emoji. She posted the wrist. She posted the heart rate screen. She picked the most clinical, least flattering photos in her camera roll and put them on the most decorated gymnastics account on the internet. That's not oversharing. That's strategy from somebody who knows exactly how much shape a single image carries. People will say I'm reaching. Maybe. But here's the counter-pressure. The same woman who chose silence for years on the Larry Nassar pain, who chose silence on the Tokyo decision until the moment she didn't. When she finally speaks, she doesn't waste a megaphone. She uses it. So what's the message under the message? My read, and y'all can drag me in the comments. She's putting the world on notice that the body that carried American gymnastics for a decade has a limit. The limit was hit this week, and the next chapter of her life is going to be defined by how she protects it from us. The press, the sponsors, the federation, all of it, including herself. The cruel part? Her husband finally getting his NFL moment is the same season her body is begging her to slow down. Two timelines colliding inside one marriage. That's not a press release. That's a flare. All right, pivot. Because while one queen was in a hospital bed, another one was on her phone in broad daylight, calmly humiliating somebody from 1,000 miles away without even saying her name. So Akbar V, Atlanta rapper, professional shot thrower, currently 0 for her last 3 at picking fair fights, decided this week was the week she was going to dethrone Cardi B. She hopped on Cardi's own beat, Pretty and Petty, the track Cardi made to bury BIA earlier this year, and Akbar flipped it into something she's calling, You Ain't Pretty, lobbing shots about Cardi having many faces and being the less attractive baby mama. I listened, twice, once for the bars, once to make sure I wasn't being unfair. Mid, not embarrassing, not memorable. Mid, the cadence wasn't sitting on the beat. She was rapping near the beat the way you sing near a melody when you don't actually know the words. And the punchlines weren't punching. They were tapping. Cardi's response was the part that should embarrass everybody who hyped this up. She didn't get on a track. She didn't tweet. She got on Instagram, posted a calm little video, and said, and I'm quoting her own post, You gotta let that hate go. You wanna know why? Because the way I'm putting things together, the way I'm planning things out, I'm gonna keep on winning. You're literally going to die watching me win over and over and over again. Then, and this is the part she added, I'm not your enemy. I mean, there's probably somebody out there that's preying on your downfall, but not me though, 'cause I don't give a F about you. That one's gonna leave a bruise. Pull up. This isn't Akbar's first attempted ambush, and it ain't even her second. Earlier this year, she swung at Latto on Latto's own GOMF beat. Same playbook, same outcome. She's been jabbing at Lizzo. She poked Dream over, of all things, coconut water. The pattern is loud enough to hum along to. Akbar is throwing at every woman with more streams than her, hoping one of them turns around long enough to make her a topic. And then there's the deeper file, the one fans dragged back up this week. According to the original Cardi versus Tasha K civil case, Akbar V is the woman whose private moments with Lil TJ were allegedly leaked online in the lead-up to that defamation suit Cardi won, the suit that's now in active collection mode, with a judge recently ordering Tasha K into a $1.2 million repayment plan, and Cardi, just last month, filing a brand new federal action against Tasha K's husband and his company in the Southern District of Florida. So when Akbar tweets, You must forgot what you did, released a video of me giving my ex-boyfriend TJ head, got somebody to attack me in a club, and mock my deceased mom. That's not just a diss. That's a years-deep grievance being aired while the legal apparatus around it is still moving in court right now. That context turns this from a rap beef into something heavier, and it's the part the timeline keeps skipping over. Look at what Cardi actually did, in order. She posted the response. She didn't say Akbar's name. She didn't drop a track. She didn't engage on Twitter. And then, quietly, professionally, the way grown people handle business, her team copyright claimed the diss off YouTube. The track came down. Akbar's promotional ceiling came down with it. That's not a clapback. That's a corporate maneuver wearing a smile. This is the same artist who just wrapped a 35-city sold-out arena run. Every date. Full house. February through April. Same artist whose sophomore album, Am I the Drama? Dropped last September, with Billboard charting singles already locked in. She is operationally on a different planet. Engaging Akbar lyrically would have been the equivalent of an NBA starter taking a charge from a guy in the YMCA league. The smartest thing she could have done was nothing, and she did slightly less than nothing, on purpose, on camera. The split here is sharper than the Simone coverage. The blogs that ride for Cardi are calling it her most mature handling of a beef to date, pointing at how she sidestepped Latto's situation last month with similar restraint. The blogs that don't ride for Cardi are calling it cowardice. If you so big, get on the track. Both takes are missing it. The actual play is closer to what one independent commentator buried in a post. Akbar is literally in a group chat by herself. Because look at the math. Lizzo didn't respond. Dream didn't respond. Latto didn't respond. Cardi posted a vibe and yanked a track. Nobody is feeding this. The beef requires two people. Akbar's been swinging at silhouettes. The counter-narrative. Cardi only avoided this because she's scared of the bars. Falls apart the second you remember that Cardi's last actual diss track, the original Pretty and Petty, is the song Akbar had to borrow to get heard. You can't claim victory on someone else's instrumental. Watch how this Simone story unfolds across the next 2 weeks. She's not going to explain it the way the press wants her to. Don't be shocked when the eventual statement is short, vague, and pivots into a broader mental and physical health platform play, possibly tied to a new sponsorship or initiative she's been quietly stacking behind the scenes. She doesn't burn a moment this raw without a runway already built. The wrist photo wasn't an accident. It was a pilot light. Then there's the marriage angle. Jonathan's on a 1-year deal in Indy. By the time Colt's camp gets real in late July, expect Simone to either physically relocate full-time or build a louder schedule around being near him. This week showed both of them the cost of being apart when something cracks. The next contract conversation in Indianapolis will not be about football alone. The aftershock, and this one's longer, is the precedent her transparency sets for active Olympians watching her. Athletes in the post-games window have historically gone dark, gotten sick, struggled in silence, and reemerged years later with a memoir. Simone is doing it on the calendar live. The next gymnast who has a medical scare in the next 24 months won't hide it the way they used to. That shift is going to outlast this news cycle by a decade. Now the Cardi Akbar arc different trajectory entirely. By the next album drop, and Am I the Drama is already cycling through its rollout. Expect Cardi to ignore Akbar so completely it becomes the burn. No name drop. No subtle. Nothing. The most expensive thing in hip-hop right now is being unmentioned by Cardi B, and Akbar's about to learn what that costs. Don't be shocked when Akbar pivots again. Once the copyright dust settles, she'll throw at somebody new. Possibly a male artist this time, because the women have officially stopped answering the phone. Watch the next 2 months. There'll be a track. There'll be a freestyle. There'll be one more swing. And the deepest cut, 5 years out, is what this whole sequence actually proves. The era of the rap beef as a career launcher is closing. You can't dish your way into the room anymore. The room has gates now. Streaming algorithms, copyright systems, label coordination, publicity stacks. Akbar V is fighting 2014 rules in the 2026 league. Cardi just demonstrated the new playbook in real time. Don't respond. Don't engage. Take it down. Keep moving. Let the math do the math. That's not pettiness. That's infrastructure. Y'all made it to the end, and you already know what it is. Tap the like. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell so you don't miss the next one. Because the second Simone says one more word, or Akbar throws one more stone, we're already loading the breakdown. You won't get this read anywhere else. Run it back.